I'd like to call to order the Westmont Village Board meeting of September 28th, 2017 at 6 o'clock p.m. to order, and I ask Clerk Simsky for a roll call.
Mayor Gunther.
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Addington.
Here.
Trustee Barker.
Here.
Trustee Barry.
He just came.
He just came in. Okay. Trustee Guzzo.
Here.
Trustee Little.
Here.
Trustee Nero.
Here.
Attorney Zemanek.
Here.
Village Manager May.
Here.
Finance Director Parker.
Here. I ask everybody to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome. I have one quick item that if anybody's here for the 505 Blackhawk, it was removed from the agenda from the developer, from the petitioner, and will it be on next? It'll be on in 2 weeks. So that item will be back before us at that time. We have open forum. Before we start, is there anybody? I've got 3 requests. Anybody here that's want to talk about something that's not on the agenda, you still have an opportunity. Chief, he already went around, so I'll start with the open forum request. I have 2 that are similar, and Carol Soul, is that it? And Lucy Pacific. One at a time if you want. Carol, you want to come up? And both of them are the large garbage containers for townhomes. And you want to, oh, I got your address. I'll give it to Jenny.
Okay. Yes, we are apparently both residents of Orchard Gate Homeowners Association, basically at 67th and Cass. It was bad enough when we received the 90-gallon recycling bins. We live in townhomes. Our garages are small. Now we've received the 90-gallon trash bins. My neighbor and I at the same time requested smaller bins. I got one, she did not. She actually keeps her car in her garage. I doubt that both bins in her car will fit in her garage because it hasn't been put inside. On average, I generate a half of a 20-gallon garbage bag per week, which means I have 80 gallons of excess capacity in the original bins that were provided. 35, I think, in the one I have, but I'm not sure of its size. With occasionally a bit more if my family drops by. Our garages are small, and our homeowners association demands that we can't leave these in our yards in the front. We can leave them in the back. Oh, that's helpful. When you live in the middle of 7 townhomes, think of us in January, how nice that will be. It was not well done to decide to put these at townhomes. We don't have the capacity for them. We probably don't. I'm probably not alone in generating a small amount of trash. Some people do have larger families than me. So I was wondering, would it be okay if I start charging you rent for the storage of these garbage containers? Because that's all I'm doing is storing containers that I don't need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Lucy Pacific. And I'll give your address to Jenny.
Hi, I am one of the board members for Orchard Gate.
You made that rule.
I did not specifically, but it is an eyesore to have these garbage containers, recycling containers out in front of our units. We don't have walkways around the back to store them in the back in the winter, to trudge them through snow. I'm in the middle of the building as well. And so I was able to downgrade my recycling container to a 64. I had just finished having a storage shelving unit built into my garage, and when I received the recycling bin, I had to have part of my shelves cut away to make room for this recycling bin. Okay, So then fast forward a couple of years, now I've got a big garbage can, which they were able to downgrade to a 35 gallon for me. I caught the guy in the truck going by and grabbed it. Had the shelving space removed from my garage to make room for that. So now I've got that, and now I'm being told that that's against the contract that Westmont signed with Waste Management, that my 34 gallon is now going to be replaced with a 64 gallon, and so I lose even more of my storage space in my garage. Like Carol said, I don't think it was very, I don't want to say wise, just not a comprehensive decision when it comes to one-car garage, townhome owners, and we're not the only subdivision. So don't know if you can go back to the drawing board with Waste Management to get the 34 gallons approved for the village and for those homeowners that require only a small amount of space. I'm only one person. I have one 20-gallon garbage can, bag in mine each week as well. So that's the request that we'd like to make.
Thank you. And just real quick, I have the manager, we've had some requests, and there's been miscommunication with Waste Management, but I'll let Manager May.
Yeah, and well, so to describe the bigger issue, there is the, as described, there was always the totes that were provided for the recycling, and that was already in the original contract. When we renewed the contract, actually, we renewed early because the issue that was brought was a combination of the homes that had multiple, everyone was using their own container, and they were all of a different quality, and a bulk of them were overweight. And I'll just leave it at, driver issues, not being able to handle it. It was either a code enforcement thing, getting the containers brought into compliance with what we have, and some of them were large investments, but even kind of tandem with that was the ability to grab the container from the vehicle or transition to the vehicles that can tip the container so that the drivers aren't handling the trash at all. So the 96 was picked because we'd already distributed the 96 units. It was also nearly double what was permitted under the old contract. And the weight was no longer an issue as long as you use that container so that it can be hooked or clamped and tipped into the truck. So that's what got to the contract reorganization and the need for, not everybody needs that size container. So it was actually the 96 was the original and the 64 was the option. They did not have the 64s when we started the program. So the mass rollout, everybody got a 96 or should have. And then while that was happening, I want to say there was less than a dozen. How many accounts are there? Like, how many thousands of totes were we talking about in total?
I don't know.
Whatever, there was a large quantity, village-wide, and, I'm sure it's built into the rate, but, at no additional cost to supply the equipment. And there was a driver that had, I don't know how many of the 35s on there that they weren't producing and weren't part of the contract, and they told us that they didn't want because they were light duty for the purposes that we're talking about. But I want to say there's about 10 households or so that received a 35 gallon receptacle. Now, I know nothing about going back and replacing that with a 64, but I know as Waste Management, they don't have any interest at all in this smaller container as far as part of the program. Now, that's just their opinion. That that's not our opinion. And that's how we renegotiated the contract. And then even with, besides the disparity between the need and the capacity of the container, I mean, there are some people that also don't have any garbage needs, or, in one case, one plastic grocery bag full is all that's generated per week. There's no provision, and for all good reasons, every residential household has to have garbage service, so that you just can't say, I don't need the garbage service, I don't want it, and you can't, use it, because then you're just taking your trash somewhere else, whatever the quantity is. So, I mean, that's just the fundamental principle why it's in there, in the first place. So, a couple of the 35s got distributed. They weren't available. They didn't order those. When they ordered the 96, the mass distribution, we took the request for the 64, and as we had those requests, it was several weeks later that we were able to swap that out and switch to the 64, and roughly that's what brought us to today. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but
Well,
that's an
no.
overview of what.
There's been a lot of people, our residents been calling Waste Management. They get one information, they call us. And I asked Manager May to look into a smaller container. If we can get a 35, and especially for this situation where you're mandated to put your car in the garage.
There was a short period of time where the residents that called Waste Management directly were being told by their customer service people that it's up to the village whether or not we can have a 35. And we called, it was like, we don't care if they have a 35, you know. But it wasn't part of the program, and they didn't really want to do that. So they solved that on their end, but we don't know how those dozen got out, you know, in the wild. And I really hope they don't come back and swap them back, but
No.
they, they
And-
had that.
I'm fairly certain I have a 65, not a 35, just based on that I actually work with a different waste hauling company at work, and I know the size of a 55-gallon drum quite well. I also know that when Downers Grove Township negotiated their waste hauling agreement, which has been quite successful in the unincorporated areas of the township, they included an opt-out provision, and that has been working well. They don't have a lot of people who have opted out, but some people opt out for whatever their reasons. And it would be nice if we had an opt-out provision too. Our situation is very different. My son lives up in Lake Zurich. He's got a wife, a dog, and 4 kids. They get by with $195 a week. So to force people into having such a large capacity container at such a small piece of property when they neither want nor need that is not really appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. I think staff's going to look into the 35. I think that's, I've asked them to see, and especially in your situation where you're limited, your backyard's a long way away. So we'll see what Waste Management, if they have those or not, so.
So, Mr. Mayor, only because of my involvement through Environmental Improvement Commission, if we recall, the Waste Management, because of the workman's comp issue on moving any type of containers, it has to be able to be picked up by that lift. They won't let you opt out and have the driver get out and get a can or anything like that. That is not allowed by their workman's comp today. So it has to be a can that can be picked up without them doing anything physical. And that's a big part of it today, and unfortunately that's insurance-driven beyond our control,
Yes.
and I think even beyond Waste Management's control.
That's a good point.
And if it is extra, there's a weight limit. It goes back to the size and the weight, and I guess to discourage it, that has to be stickered too. So you can, hide your can and not use it and put your own item out there, but you have to put a sticker on it each week, and you're paying the monthly or the quarterly fee anyway. So it's an additional cost to not use it, is another consequence to that.
But if they can pick up a 35, more than happy to provide it. And the comment about, we had a lot of concerned residents that said, we don't have enough garbage container. So we went to the large one and at the Waste Management's expense. So no longer do our residents have to buy their own garbage cans. Waste Management provide that at their cost. So there was other reasons why we implemented that contract. And of course, we can't be aware of every homeowners association, what kind of rules and regulations they do have. And now that you brought it to our attention, we'll look at the 35. So we'll see what we can do. We've got your names. And I think I had an email from another lady this week. Yeah. So, all right, thank you. I have a
Quick corrections. The gentleman over there was talking about the private man.
You got to come, yeah. You got to state your name and your address.
Sure.
My name is Young Chai. I live in 28 Peachtree Lane. I live in Sam Orchard Gate, and I'm also a board member as well. The gentleman just mentioned that it is against their policy for the garbage men to pick up individual garbage can, but that is not true. I see them picking up the garbage all the time, coming out. I know that the purpose of the new garbage bin is the cleanness, because there's a wild animal everywhere that they terrorize our garbage liners and then things like that, just environment issues. But they always pick up the stuff, whether it's been garbage stickers or not. I've seen loose furnitures everywhere that they don't complain. They pick up all the time anyway, as long as they're under 50 pounds or something like that. So I just want to be corrected. I'm not so sure that's the waste management policy, insurance policy, whatnot, but I don't see that happening anywhere.
Well, they warned us it's coming.
Well, it's coming in and moved to the mechanical truck. We do it actually as a service. There's one large item, per address as well too, included with that. So there is some manual stuff that has to be done. The frequency's got to be knocked down, but the weight limit does apply to whatever they're doing, and it's up to the driver whether or not he can negotiate it or not.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I got another open forum request. It's from Virginia Hurst, and she's interested in how to get lake water to Liberty Park on Lincoln Street. Yeah, I've got your address, 3916 North Lincoln.
Hi, yeah, I am Jenny Hurst, and on Lincoln Street, we're still on private wells. There is a part in Liberty Park that's on the community well, and those people seem to be pretty happy with their water. We're not, and if there, I don't know what it would take, but if there's any way to get lake water in there, I'd sure like to work on it or find out, or.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
On your way out, I encourage you to talk to the Public Works Director, because there have been water main extensions, into the neighborhood with, there's a lot of parts to it, but it's possible depending on where you're at.
It would require a pre-annexation agreement.
Most likely.
Thank
So
you.
you'd have to become part of the village to get village water, or once you're contiguous to property that's in the village, then you'd have to annex at that time.
That, how's that process?
Well, Mr. Ramsey,
He'll
well,
talk to you.
What side of Lincoln Street are you on, east or west?
We're on the west side.
You're probably not continuing.
All right, that's the last request that I have. I'll close open forum, move on to reports. First one is the mayor's report, and I have to tell, yesterday we had the opportunity to go to Aspired Living, Aspired
You said it
Living.
right.
Assisted senior housing on 63rd Street. And it's a beautiful, beautiful building. I've been in a lot of assisted living with in-laws and parents and nursing homes. This one is fabulous. And it's going to provide a lot of activities for the, I say seniors. It could be, it's a beautiful facility. They have 24-hour food service. They have 24-hour nurse. They've got their beautiful 2 restaurants. They got a theater. It is really a beautiful building. I know Trustee Barry was there, Manager May. I don't know if anybody else, but I was very impressed.
Clerk.
And Clerk Simsky was there. So they're open, and if you're stop by and visit, and take a look at it.
it is a combination of independent living,
Yes.
assisted living, and then there's also a memory care
Yeah.
component offered as well.
But there's plenty of activities, yoga.
It's a resort.
Yeah, looks like a resort.
Where's that at?
63rd Street, kind of the top of the hill between Williams and Fairview.
On the south side,
Yeah, south side of the street.
beautiful. But that's all I have. I turn to Clerk Simsky.
I agree with the mayor. That facility is amazing. They have everything you could possibly want inside there. It's beautiful. I'm sure the people all love being there. Well, I think they're already sold out, aren't they?
No, they have 15 or 20 move in, and I think they're still taking,
Okay.
yeah, taking.
And secondly, I just want to announce to any of our businesses that the business licenses have gone out in the mail for 2018, and liquor licenses will be following shortly. So we'd just like to get them in your hands in plenty of time for you to get them back into us. So, thank you, that's
Thank
all
you.
I have.
Trustee Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple items today. The EIC has their plant sale going on currently, and also the Public Works is in conjunction with that. And then secondly, I would just like to put a note out to all the commuters that when the gates are down, please, please, please do not cross the gates. We had a tragedy in Clarendon Hills this morning, and unfortunately, I was crossing the tracks at that time, and leave 5 minutes early, do whatever you have to do, but crossing these tracks with the gates down, which, you know, we see every day go on here, is really just not a good thing. So please, please do not do that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Guzzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one brief announcement. The next Finance Committee meeting will be here in the Village Hall on Thursday, October 12th at 4:00 p.m. Everyone is invited to attend. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Addington.
Yes, sir, a couple things. First one is extremely important. I have a very good friend in town that many of you know, and I promised Mark Pankey that I would say hello to him this evening, so hello to Mark Pankey. Those who know Mark know. So, anyhow, Tuesday morning was legislative committee meeting for DuPage mayors and managers. There wasn't a whole bunch on the agenda to talk about because right now Springfield is in recess. However, I think the big thing that is on the plate right now is that we are now up to 20 legislators who have decided to walk away. And almost all of them are walking away because they're just fed up with what's going on down there with the lack. Every one of the people that I know that has decided not to stay is not staying because they're people who are willing to compromise and work, and the situation down there is anything but working together and affecting compromises. Even this last bill that talked about changing the way they do funding for schools was a dog and pony show, and it's just going to continue. But there will be a coffee in November, and I'll see that the information gets sent around with our local legislators, those who can make it. Again, at least we get to talk to the locals, and but we're waiting right now. There will be a what they call a veto session somewhere, but it hasn't been scheduled yet. It'll be sometime October or early November. And other than that, the only other bit of news that was presented was that apparently Bill Brady has been officially picked as the Republican leader in the Senate. He replaced former Senator Christine Radogno, who's one of the 20 who decided to walk and not be there anymore. So other than that, I'll send the information around. I'll try to get a report done later tonight or first thing in the morning and send it to Patty so she can include it in the stuff that she sends out every week. But there'll be more coming later. I think they're probably off now because they're all those that want to stay want to get reelected, so they're working on petitions and things. The other thing I have is October 13th and 14th, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, is Lions Club Candy Day. So when you see us out there shaking our cans, please remember to put something in. That is the #1 fundraiser for the Lions of Illinois. And for those that have heard us talk about the kids' camps for the hearing impaired and the sight impaired, and things like the testing buses, the screening buses that we do for hearing and with retinopathy, this funds all of those issues from the Lions of Illinois Foundation. So that's the 13th and 14th. And lastly, Next Wednesday, Economic Development will be taking a tour. We're going to be going to Magna Schultz, and I believe, Larry, we're going to meet there at 9 o'clock. Magna Schultz is another one, it's another one of our hidden gems, if you will. They've been in town for many, many years. Matter of fact, I met the owner who lives in Italy way back 20 years ago when I was mayor, and they've been here for 25 years. We were just recently at a celebration about that, but it's a very great company, and another, like I said, one of our hidden gems that a lot of people don't know about. But it's a Westmont business that has been here for a long, long time, and I think Economic Development will find it interesting to see what they do, and we'll pass out more information at our next meeting after we do the tour. And that's it, sir.
Well, thank you. Trustee Nero.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. First, I'd like to just recap, remind everybody that the Fire Department Open House is coming up Saturday, October 7th from 1 to 3 at the headquarters station. And the silent parade is Friday, October 13th at 7 p.m. and it's going to be starting in Hinsdale. And then lastly, just a new promotion coming out soon. We're going to be giving away free smoke detectors. If a resident needs a smoke detector, contact the fire department at 630-981-6400. Info is in the water bills and the Neighbors magazine. And then next, I'd like to invite Chief Gunther up to talk about the next special events fundraiser. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Trustee Nero. I have a couple things to talk about. There for a second. So the primary charitable organization that the Westmont Police Department supports is Illinois Special Olympics, and we have a couple of updates, and I have a couple of guest speakers that are going to be talking here in a second. Just an update on the year-to-date totals. Thus far, we've raised close to $11,000 for Illinois Special Olympics, which we're very proud of. To put that number in context, last year we raised $5,500. The year prior, we raised $5,000. So we're already we're doubled what we did last year. To put it in further context, in 2012, the first year we started tracking it, we brought in $1,500. So we're really making great strides in supporting a great organization. One of the things that our next charitable event that's going to start on October 1st is a beard-a-thon, and I have my two living examples and who are going to speak in a second. The beard-a-thon was the brainchild of Detective Kozelski and Detective Glenn, so I allowed them last week to start growing their beards in anticipation of this meeting. Detective Kozelski is the president of our FOP Lodge, and Detective Glenn is our vice president. Current leader, yes, here he is, red shirt. So I'm going to turn this over to the current leader for some words.
All right. First off, I want to say thank you, everybody, for letting us come and talk about this a little bit. I'm not the best speaker in the world, so if I talk fast or say something, just tell me to slow down. A little bit what Jim was talking about earlier this year, Detective Glenn and I came up with some ideas on how we could change the fraternal part of the FOP and things that we could do. In the 19 years that I've been with the police department, we could never have any facial hair. Big thing to me, big thing to a lot of guys we know, we don't like shaving. It'd be kind of something neat to do to raise money for Special Olympics. So Detective Glenn and I sat down with the chief and sat down with Deputy Chief Gruen, passed along this idea of, hey, if we donate some money to Special Olympics, would you guys let us grow beards for a certain amount of time? There was a little struggle between us and the chief and Detective Glenn on how long he wants his beard to grow. We all came up with something to raise the money. It was a $150 donation. We got a t-shirt and you could grow a beard from October 1st till January 1st. But what part of that is we all have to be shaving clean and we have to keep it neat and keep it trim. So we're all excited about it. Beginning of the year, Chief Gunther came up and asked us how much we can raise. He set a goal of us for $15,000, so we're trying to get as close as we can by doing this. So right now, like Chief said, I think we're about $11,000 right now. We have one more event coming up. Earlier this year, we did a volleyball game, which I know some of you guys were at, some of you guys came to. We raised money through that. We raised money through also the shred event that the Chief Gunther and Deputy Chief Gruen had last week. And I think we have anything else this year? This is our last big one for this year, so we're hoping to get our goal. What's it? Oh, yeah, and then we did the Cop on Top. The chief and ex-chief, or prior chief, Mulhern did it too. So if you see us out there, there's about a handful of us in the police department that'll have beards. They'll be shaving, they'll be clean. It's not just that we don't care how we look, it's just we're raising money for a good cause.
I'll just add real quick, there's 17 of us that did do it. We do have some females that are going to participate, not with a beard, but they are going to grow some sort of extension in their hair. Is that what they're called, an extension? Some sort of color. I believe they're going to put purple in their hair or something, just to support the Special Olympics. Like Detective Kozelski said, we're very close to our goal. We really want to meet that $15,000 goal. If anybody wants to help out, if anybody wants to donate, let us know. You can drop off a check, make it to Illinois Special Olympics. Okay, they'll get the Chief Gunther, DC Gruen, and we'll get it all in there, and we'll get our money in. So we appreciate your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on the Beardathon, so far between the T-shirt sales and the money donated by the officers, that alone was close to $3,000. So that was a large portion of that $11,000. And so springboarding that onto our next event, and this was really kind of came out of nowhere in the last few weeks. And Assistant Principal Amy Quattrone from the junior high approached Deputy Chief Gruen, who's our Special Olympics liaison, and put forth an opportunity to have basically a movie in the park event. And so Brian and Amy worked feverishly on it in the last couple of weeks, and it's posted on the overhead. It's a movie called Kelly's Hollywood, and just some quick details on it. It's a family night out, and it's going to be on Tuesday, October 17th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Ty Warner Park. The tickets were asking $13 for an adult, $7 for a child under 13. Food is going to be provided by Uncle Bub's, and so it's going to be dinner and a movie. Literally, they've had less than a month to plan this, and they worked very, very hard. And all the proceeds will go to Special Olympics. So if you can make a night of that, please RSVP to Detective Glenn. His email address is up on the overhead right now, along with his phone number. We did receive permission to play the trailer for the movie. It's a tearjerker, so I'll just kind of like play the movie or play the trailer and then let it speak for itself.
That's my little sister Kelly, and her dream was to be a big Hollywood star, and mine was to make it happen.
Oh my God, I'm nervous.
When was the last time you saw Mr. Colin Firth?
Mrs. Firth?
You were on the beach.
You made love.
It's the beach.
Did you drown?
No!
They come as this package deal, and that started to freak me out a little bit. I'm supposed to be your other half, but there's already a half there.
She had you for 39 years to herself. It's a big adjustment not to have you to herself anymore.
The curtain here where you come out with all the glitter and stuff.
Yeah.
In the middle.
I know what it is.
And then there's usually like a screen or something they can show clips.
How you doing?
The stars are shining bright and I am flying high. The planets, they call to me at night. I can take this anywhere, I just need you to see. The stars are shining bright and I am flying high. The planets, they call to me at night. Yeah, I can take this anywhere, I just need you to see me fly.
Very nice.
So that's a brief glimpse. We hope you can all make it out Tuesday, October 17th. Hope to see everybody there.
Yeah. And Chief, this is the only fundraiser we do, and it's statewide, right?
Correct. Other than, I'll make one slight correction. We do the, the Brother Kenny Spare a Dime event through the departments, and the police department is the reigning champion, and that's for the People's Resource Center. So we intend on winning that one again this year.
Okay.
So we have more dimes than everybody else in the village.
Thank you, Chief. Just to touch on the shred event that was mentioned, I want to big thank you to DocuShred for donating their time and equipment, and they raised $1,000 of that $11,000 that last event. And then the police department also had a very successful first class for the Citizens Police Academy with over 30 participants, so that's good to see. And then last but not least, I want to special thanks to Principal Jonak and Assistant Principal Quattrone for inviting me in to speak to all the students yesterday. It was their student council elections. I thought I was just going into a class of 20 students or so. It ended up being the whole school, which was exciting, and I could tell you all their speeches for all the officers were well-spoken, very well thought out, and one girl even did a rap to her speech. So everybody really had a lot of fun, and the kids were involved and engaged, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't pass on. I had a little Q&A about the village and some ideas they have for us to consider. Village pool, number one. Village ice rink, safer crossings on Ogden Avenue, movie theater, pizza wars, and last, which we're making a little progress at, public Wi-Fi. So I'll be happy to pass on that now the train station has public Wi-Fi. But other than that, it was a lot of fun, and thank you, and coming soon. But yeah, it was good, and a lot of future leaders there, that's for sure. They're all excited to get involved and give back to the community. So I was glad to do it. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Little.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a number of items, and I'll try to be really fast through all of them. Cruising nights and summer events are over, so please take our survey. It's information and link on the Stanley Jamburger Facebook page. We'd really like your opinion on the cruise nights and the Taste of Westmont, and just a whole slew of information there that we'd like to have your input on. We can only make it better and greater if you give us your opinion and step up and help out. Westmont Special Events is hosting 3 new fall events. One is the Zombie Pub Crawl, brand new event coming up on Saturday, October 28th from 2 to 6 p.m. 4 Westmont businesses are participating: Walsh's, Uptown, DJ's Sports Bar and Grill, and Myths and Legends. $15 are the ticket prices, and you must be 21, obviously. Sign up at westmontevents.com. It's going to be a bus that will take you through the 4 different locations, and they're going to have special events and special activities and drinks at each location. During the Wicked West Fest, Westmont Special Events will be hosting costume contest on October 21st, 10:30 to 11. All contestants that are dressed should meet at the parking lot near Toons Funeral Home at Cass and Irving. Another new event is the Westmont Fall Wine Tasting, which will take place in a tent in front of Dolce's Restaurant at 15 West Quincy, directly across from the train station. Tickets will be found at shawmediaevents.com/e/wine2017. So that event is actually going to take place on Saturday, October 7th from 2 to 6 p.m. Wicked West Fest, or the Nightmare Before Holidays, is the new name of Westmont Fall Events. Visit the village website for details regarding all events at www.westmont.illinois.gov. October 21st events include costume contest, trick-or-treat trail, pumpkin smashing extravaganza, caskets on Cass, scarecrow contest awards, and more. Then the Park District events are the Last Straw, October 1st, this Sunday at the Greg House Museum at 115 South Linden Avenue. Also, the Haunted Forest is October 21st at the Diane Main Park at 200 West 59th Street. Go to the Park District website for more information at westmontparks.org. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Last but not least, Trustee Barker.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things this evening. Westmont First will meet Monday, October 16th at Westmont Library, 6 p.m. And then as part of our support during the trick-or-treat trail and Wicked West Fest there, we will be again passing out grocery bags for on behalf of People's Resource Center, and asking people to take those bags and fill them and bring those back either to the People's Resource Center. We're looking for a couple other drop-off points, but one of the points that we've locked in is the tree decorating at the Westmont Park District. You drop your donations back at that location on Tree Decorating Day. And then also, just as a reminder, if you don't want to carry around a bag of groceries and drop those off for those people that really need it, People's Resource Center is able to take $1 in cash, and through their buying power and their deals with different organizations, they're able to turn that into $4 worth of product that they can give people in need. So cash is always good if you don't want to take the grocery bag and fill it. But we'll see us on October 21st passing those out, and if you're able to, please take one and fill it, because those folks really need the support that we give them here. That is all.
Thank you. Moving on the agenda, public hearing, Special Service Area, North Westmont Fire Protection District. Public hearing pursuant to the requirements to establish a special service area for properties currently in the North Westmont Fire Protection District. Before we open it to the public, I got the Attorney Zemanek and Chief Weiss will make some comments.
This is a public hearing required by state statute whenever a municipality wants to establish a special service area. A little over a month ago, the board passed an ordinance of its intent to create a special service area. The next step was to publish notice in the newspaper. That was done September 13th in the Suburban Life, and mail out notice to taxpayers of record within essentially the Liberty Park area that's part of the North Westmont Fire Protection District. That was done at least 10 days before this hearing. This is the public's opportunity to speak. And then there's a 60-day waiting period in which residents can object to the creation of a special service area. If sufficient objections are not received, then the village board can consider passing an ordinance to actually establish the SSA or special service area and levy the taxes, and the chief can explain what this means.
All right, thank you. Before I get into explaining that, we do have the president of North Fire District here, Joe Rana, and he asked if he could come up and say a few words real quick, so I would like to allow him that opportunity now, and then I'll finish up with my comments.
Thank you. On behalf of the Board of Trustees for North Westmont Fire Protection District, I'd like to start out by just saying thank you to the Village of Westmont for everything you guys have done to help get this going in the right direction. I don't know all of the people that have worked on this. I know Steve May, Spencer Parker, and John Semenek have helped out a lot, and I appreciate it. We figured when this, at the onset of this, what we needed to do was get this information out to the people. And as John said, it was published in the paper. 2 mailings were sent out. We made a list of all of the residents that did not get back to us on those mailings. And we, with the help of Liberty Park Homeowners Association and just private Liberty Park residents, went out and knocked on all the doors we could and made all the contact we could with all of the people and explained to them what this was all about. And I mean, it's evident that this is the natural way to go, we feel, and we are just in hopes that this continues to go forward. Thank you.
As I had a few comments, the Village of Westmont and the Westmont Fire Department's been servicing the North Westmont Fire District, Liberty Park, for well over 50 years. We've had a relationship with them, and they've received the same services as our residents do. And it was obviously we got to a point where we needed to look at, for those people in those areas, just not North Westmont Fire Protection District, but we also service South Westmont Fire District. And we are working with them to also do the same thing, where they need to pay the same rate of pay for service that the Village of Westmont residents pay. So back in June of this year, the DuPage County Board approved a resolution directing the Village of Westmont to create a special service area agreement to provide fire and EMS service to a portion of unincorporated DuPage County. That was passed then. In the meantime, we felt that we wanted to set up a town hall meeting. We did that on August 23rd and had the town hall meeting here at the village board to talk to any residents or answer any questions they had on that night. I believe we had 3 residents show up. Manager May was here, and Spencer Parker, our finance director, myself, and the board. And we did discuss some key points that the village was asking the county board to grant permission for the village to form a special service agreement with the North Westmont District to fund the fire and ambulance service for residents in the unincorporated areas. We've looked back over the years, and there's been a shortfall of about $60,000 a year, and municipal residents are subsidizing service costs of this in the unincorporated area, so we felt that we needed to do something. Finance Director Parker and Manager May and staff, along with the North District Board, worked out a 5-year recommendation, which the residents, over 60% of them, agreed in favor to establish the SSA to increase those rates over a 5-year phase-in period. By proposing the SSA, it's going to eliminate about $10,000 a year in expenses currently incurred by the North Westmont Fire District Board, and it'll redirect that savings towards actual service costs. Underneath the agreement, the village has appropriated the cost of the Fire Protection District of that shortfall, and they forgive past shortfalls. So there won't be any asking of to make up any of the shortfalls from the past, which in turn is a benefit to the residents in the unincorporated area. Tonight what we're doing is the public hearing, and then we have a 60-day waiting period, and then the first Thursday in December the board will pass the ordinance to start moving forward with creating the SSA, which we're looking to begin in 2018.
And again, this was driven by the county, because right now the board's appointed by the county, and their goal was to eliminate special districts whenever they can join with an existing community. So we met with them, and this was the solution. So.
Right, and like I said, we're also working with South Westmont
Yes.
Fire District, that is also a paper district, and we'll be doing the same thing within the next couple of years with them.
Thank you. This time I'll open it up for public comment. You need to, if you want to comment, just come on up to the podium, state your name and address. All right, I was going to go going once.
Good evening. My name is Robin Hurst. I'm here with my wife, Virginia. I don't know how we got behind the curve, because we only received one notice and we never had anybody at our front door, although we're not home all the time. So I'm not saying that an attempt wasn't made. So the reason for my being here tonight is basically I have questions. I'm not saying I have a problem with this. I certainly understand that people in the unincorporated district shouldn't be getting a better deal than the village residents in terms of the cost. But I've tried to compare my tax bill with a few from people just randomly selected here within the village to determine what exactly this is going to mean to us, because there's some things that confuse me in the notification. It appears that we pay on the basis of the assessed value a rate of 0.1275 for the fire district. And it looks like that same line item on a village tax bill is 0.1219. The difference is, I'm assuming, and this is one of the questions I have, the difference is that there is also a village Westmont EX-fire at an increment of 0.239. So it looks like the combination of those two is about 0.36 of assessed value. Is that the number that you're trying to equalize the unincorporated area to?
So the number we're looking to equalize the unincorporated area to in 2016 is 0.32, and it's a combination of the fire and then a portion of the X fire, which means excluding fire. There's a small piece of the town that is not serviced by or that isn't taxed for the Westmont fire protection. It's in a separate fire protection district, and so that section has to pay other things, including ambulance. So there's two pieces. There's the fire portion and then the ambulance portion, because that's the service that is provided to Liberty Park, is both the fire and ambulance. And the ambulance is a part of that, what's called X fire on the tax bill.
Okay.
So together they equal, based on the 2016 rates, about 0.32.
Spencer, that goal is in 5 years from now, to gradually.
Yes.
Understood.
Right.
Yeah, I'm seeing that it's, it goes to 0.333 by year 5, and then year 6 and thereafter we'll be paying the same. So that's why I needed some clarification as to what on a village homeowner's tax bill we're talking about moving over. But then the other thing that convinced me, and maybe this is just a matter of definitions or semantics, but in one of the paragraphs it says, the special tax will be considered at the public hearing to be levied in an amount not to exceed an annual rate of 5% of the assessed value. That can't be right.
So that's the maximum amount provided by law, as I understand, and that's just kind of the common notice procedure, where we say we can tax up to a maximum amount not to exceed that 5% number. But that's why I felt that was confusing.
Yeah.
Even though that's kind of what we're required to put in the notice, which is the maximum tax rate. That's why I spelled out in the notice those specific tax rates for years 1 through 5 and what you'd be paying thereafter. So you're right, it's confusing, I apologize, but we had to put in the maximum rate that we could conceivably charge.
Okay, yeah, because obviously that would be almost as much as we're paying in total tax.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that answers my questions. Thank you.
We got your name. What was your address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm at 3916 North Lincoln Street.
Thank you.
Opportunity to come on up. Again, your name and your address.
Good evening. My name's Annie Schubert. I live at 3909 North Lincoln. You got most of my questions answered. My last question would be, one is on the ordinance and one is on the public hearing. So that 5% is not showing on both. It's showing on the ordinance, but not the notice to taxpayers. So do we need some clarification on that?
You're referring to the maximum tax rate of 5%?
Correct.
That was in the notice mailed out to the taxpayers of record.
Right.
I'm not sure if I have the ordinance with me tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is in the ordinance, but the breakout isn't in the ordinance.
Of the specific rates?
Yes.
It will be once the ordinance establishing the SSA is passed in December.
December 7.
And then we will have to pass a tax levy which will state the specific tax rate for year 1. Every year, a new tax levy will have to be passed in accordance with the ordinance. But I think our ordinance will spell out for the first 5 years, here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
We can't then levy more than that without having a new public hearing, passing a new ordinance, giving notice to all of you, et cetera.
Perfect. Thank you.
And just to point out with it, when we levy the taxes, we actually have to levy a specific dollar amount. And so what we'll do is we'll levy the dollar amount that, based on the past year's equalized assessed valuation, would be the equivalent of that rate.
Right.
So it'll be an approximation of the rate. It'll be close to it because we have to levy a dollar amount and can't just levy a rate.
Okay, got
So
it.
you're aware.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move on to items removed from the consent agenda. Does any board member want an item removed? If not, I'd ask Manager May to please read.
First on the consent agenda are village board meeting minutes. Board to consider approving the minutes of the village board meeting held September 14, 2017. Next is finance ordinance number 11, the amount of $958,529.39. We have also this evening the August financial report. Board to consider a motion to accept the financial report submitted for the month of August 2017. There's one purchase order on the board meeting tonight for M.E. Simpson, in the amount of $30,375 even, and that's representative of the annual fire hydrant flow testing program. The purchase order is not part of the finance ordinance, so the finance ordinance together with the purchase order amounts $988,904.39. Lastly is a proclamation for Fire Prevention Week, and board to consider a proclamation declaring October 8th through the 14th, 2017 as Fire Prevention Week in the Village of Westmont. If you want the whole thing read, I'm going to ask the chief to come up. That concludes the consent.
Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
Motion by Addington to approve.
Second, Nero.
Motion made and second on the question. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We'll move on to new business. 324 South Linden Avenue, a lot area variance. Board to consider ordinance approving a zoning code variance request from SKE Property Investments to allow relief from the minimum lot area for a dwelling in the R3 single-family detached residence district. Then I've got Director Ziegler.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant is requesting this variance so that he can build a new single-family home on a vacant lot. The adjacent lots and several of the other lots in the surrounding neighborhood are similar in size and would therefore need a similar variance. A new home cannot be built on this lot without the variance. Public comment included questions about the future alley improvements, because there is an easement being dedicated in case the village is able to assemble property for an alley improvement in the future. Concerns about stormwater, which the property is meeting all stormwater requirements, and if the new home would meet the character of the neighborhood. The applicant, other than the lot size variance, meets setback requirements and has less than 35% lot coverage. The variance is for a lot that is deficient by 395 square feet. And the commission made a unanimous positive recommendation.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Guzzo.
Second, Addington.
Motion made and second to approve as presented on the question. Anybody in the audience? Anybody here? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business B, 230 North Cass Avenue, whole body cryotherapy and float spa. Board to consider ordinance approving the following requests from Go Polar Cryotherapy Incorporated to allow the operation of a ground floor health spa in the B1 Limited Business District. 1, a special use permit, and 2, a development permit. And Director Ziegler.
Thank you, Mayor. The request is for a health spa for a very unique use, actually 2 unique uses. One is where you freeze portions of your body for several minutes at a time. It's very rejuvenating. And then also a float spa, which includes thousands of pounds of salt that you float in for about an hour. So the Planning and Zoning Commission learned a lot about this use at the public hearing, and the applicant is here tonight if you have any questions about the business. We're excited to see it open in the downtown and bring visitors into the B1 district.
You presented that like you were familiar with it. Are you a customer?
I have floated.
Yeah.
I haven't frozen.
Well, I have to admit, I've been to, I believe it's your facility in Lamont. A buddy of mine said, Steve, you got to try this. You're going to go freeze. And I said, okay. So you go and you get in a robe and you go freeze for 3 minutes. And it was interesting, you know. I don't know if I'd go to Lamont again, but I'll definitely do it. And I encourage everybody to do it once it does open up. It makes you feel good, and it's there was a lot of athletes in there when I was there that swore by it, and, you know, my back didn't hurt when I got out of there, so I'll take it. So it's definitely really neat. It's a nice facility, very professional, and, it's interesting, so I can't wait to see it open up.
Well, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Little.
Second, Nero.
Motion been made and second to approve. On the question, anybody in the audience, do you want to say anything else about your business? Come on up. You already got Steve Nero.
Yeah.
Picture going to be on the wall?
One of the reasons we really want to come to Westmont is because we do draw a lot of first-time clients, but I feel like a lot of them, Westmont's a little bit further down. So we wanted to make it accessible to a wider range of people and retain our customers.
Any other comments? Roll call, please. Thank you.
Trustee Little?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Addington?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Motion passes. New business C.
How long before they think they'll get
Yeah,
open?
open?
It all depends on how the village will work with us permitting.
They'll work fine. You won't have that problem.
Early spring, we're assuming.
Okay. We're looking forward to it.
Good. New business C. 430 East Ogden Avenue, 651 Westmont Drive, 433 Plaza Drive, Laurel BMW of Westmont. Board to consider an ordinance approving site and landscaping approval for Westmont B Imports Incorporated and Carmred LLC located at 430 East Ogden Avenue and 651 Westmont Drive in the B2 General Business District and 433 Plaza Drive in the M Manufacturing District. Director Ziegler, give us some more information.
Thank you, Mayor. The board is very familiar with the BMW expansion project. Originally, they had talked about doing one large detention pond. Then it was switched to 2 detention ponds. And then they worked with their next-door neighbor to combine detention ponds. So this will be a larger space for detention, serving both properties. It will also allow a future parking area to be expanded. So that hasn't been planned yet, but the volume is being monitored by staff so that we can ensure that it helps with additional impervious area in the future. We had a lot of detailed engineering questions that will be addressed during final engineering review. And following that, the commission made a unanimous positive recommendation.
I have a motion.
Motion to approve, Addington.
Second, Barker.
Motion made and second. On the question, anybody in the audience? I know planning and zoning does a good job going through it.
They do.
We have access to that, so I'd ask for a roll call.
Trustee Addington?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Little?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo?
Yes.
Trustee Nero?
Yes.
Motion passes. New business D. Second Amendment, NORCOM. Board to consider an ordinance approving a Second Amendment to the license agreement for municipal alarm service with NORCOM Public Safety Communication Incorporated. And either Chief Weiss or Attorney Zemanek, you'll start out.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Staff and I realized, and after reviewing some of our agreements and contract, that NORCOM's agreement was coming up for their 6 years, and so we felt with our move to ACDC that we had to do some amendments in there anyway to the current agreement, and because we haven't been contacted by any other vendor to come forward, staff felt to move forward with a second amendment to the current agreement and to renegotiate a new agreement with NORCOM and bring it forward to the board. So we move forward in doing that. Some of the things that we felt that we wanted to have in their agreement is that we wanted to, our inspectors want to have the ability to troubleshoot some of the trouble alarms that we've been getting, just not in the fire alarm system, but also in the wireless systems. And so we worked out an agreement with them to be able to do that. We also wanted, because we had some incidents with private residents, we put in their agreement that an event that any of the contractors' wireless transmitters are located inside a personal residence or private place of business, the village shall not test, inspect, or reset such wireless transmitters without the express consent of the owner or tenant to enter the property for that purpose. So we did put that in there. Just like the first 6-year agreement, each 3 years of that agreement, there was a increase in cost. We did work out that which we felt was very reasonable to our residents, our businesses, and that. The first January 1st of 18 through December 31st, 2020, the contractor shall pay to the village $19.50 per month, which right now the village gets $17.50 a month. January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023, it'd be $21.50 a month to the village, and effective January 1st, 2024, it'll go to $24 a month. We did also work out with NORCOM that some testing guidelines, when our inspectors go and test the fire alarm systems, that they will also provide testing for the wireless transmitters. And the reason we wanted this is because we wanted to be able to make sure they were in accordance with NFPA 72 standard, and that we wanted to make sure that their system did send signal to our monitoring dispatch center. We also, with those $2 increases and stuff, and with NORCOM's increases, January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2020, the monthly rate will go to $70, which in the first 6 years, each 3 years, there was a $5 increase. We worked out that same thing. First 3 years, it'll go to 70, and the second 3 years, it'll go to 75. And so staff felt that that was a good agreement. We've reviewed this Second Amendment to the agreement with Attorney Ziminek. He's reviewed it with NORCOM's attorneys, and we're at the point to presenting it to the board right now. We do have the Vice President of NORCOM here, Mike Tillman, if you wish to ask him any questions at this time, or anything I can ask for here. John, anything you want to add?
Nope. Well done.
Mike, is there anything you want to say?
Good evening, Mayor Gunter, Board of Trustees. We've been doing business with the Village of Westmont for a very long time. Looking forward to continuing to do business and working closely with the fire department, and just here to answer any questions you may have.
Why don't you let the rookie talk?
Right up, kid.
For those who don't know, this gentleman served how many years for Westmont?
20.
20 years. 20, and then he went to Elmhurst, and we can't get him retired. He keeps doing things.
27 years there.
Yeah.
10 years at Winfield.
Great guy.
This is just a comment on the side. The system, and when Chief Trout asked for quotes at the time, and we submitted a quote, and we happened to get the contract back in 2005. It's been a snowball thing. It has gone forward, and we're doing 14 different towns now. And I, as a fire chief, fought for a situation where we didn't have false alarms, or false alarms were somewhat or dramatically reduced, and the wireless boxes have done that. Where you run into problems now is when you have a fire alarm system that isn't always maintained the way it should be, and that's what causes false alarms. But the wireless boxes control a lot of the regular alarms due to storms and things like that.
I know a couple items we've been hearing your billing sometimes seems to be incorrect. And I think you've worked on that. Statements coming out and the false alarms. I think you've been out servicing that, and I think, Chief, one of the things, do we have a personnel go with them?
Yeah, well, you know, one of the things we realized when we were with Downers Grove Dispatch is that we weren't being informed of all the trouble signals that we actually were receiving, and since we moved to ACDC, it's a daily basis that we have inspectors in the field looking at fire alarm troubles and NORCOM troubles. And so they are, every day, looking at those and handling those as quick as possible. If it is something that is in the NORCOM wireless box, they're notified right away. They're asked to get their technicians out there as soon as possible. And most of the time, it ends up being, if there's a trouble signal coming from the wireless box or even the fire alarm, the backup battery is usually the problem.
And I know we discussed it at committee, for another business to come in, it's well over $100,000 of upfront costs with equipment.
Yeah, you know, they would have to put the equipment at 500 North Cass, and I believe it's probably even a little bit more over that. Yeah.
I'm being over. Any additional comments?
Sure, Mr. Mayor.
I thought I covered it.
I guess I just have, as probably one of the few people here that pays the bill monthly, I have concern with the constant increase. You know, I was here as a businessman with the previous board, and they went to great strides to say that we were going to be locked into that $55 to $60 range. That now has become about $74 a month, I believe, is where we're at today. And right, is that about it?
65, it'll go to
74, I think, is what our bill is pretty consistent at this point. It's something with the 70. So now to see more increase, when again, that was one of the things that we really said we were going to keep that cost down. You know, at every contract, if this keeps going up, boy, oh boy, you know, this is going to be quite the bill. So I guess I don't know what happened to that locked in of that low rate, and then I guess I haven't been paying attention close enough to see that it's been increasing all along. So I guess I have concern as a small businessman in town. Where does that stop? Mm-hmm. You know, and you know, one of those things we don't recoup, you know, obviously.
Again, I don't think any of us was around in '04 unless Marie was.
Jim was.
Jim was, but.
No, I was in limbo.
So we weren't part of that conversation. I know, Chief, if you want to add anything, or.
Yeah, you know, I think the reason that we were looking, you know, probably recommending a little increase on our side to bring additional revenue into the village side is because of the cost of our fire inspectors. I mean, the cost of their hourly wage and their demand today is more than ever. So let's just try to cover some of that cost and balance that out, just kind of like we do with the EMS billing, you know, and the fire recovery building, you know, to help cover some of those costs and expenses.
What's crazy with that is that we've been giving Liberty Park a discount for all these years, but yet we're gonna get the extra out of our local businessmen. You know what I mean? And so you know, but Liberty Park, which really isn't part of us, they just stated tonight that their rate's a little less than ours, so it's a little confusing, but I guess sometimes that's the way
being
it
a
is.
special service area, and they have to prove that we gave them a gradual increase, so they're with the residents. So.
Well, I'd rather see them get the increase.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'd rather see them recoup it than myself, but that's the way I would look at it.
Just to add for our costs, and the reason our costs increase, you know, due to the labor rates, insurance, the wireless devices that we provide to each commercial property, our fee's all inclusive. So if we have to replace a battery, we're not charging for a service call, we're not charging for the actual hardware to replace the battery, it's all inclusive. So those batteries, we get notifications when they need to be changed out. We go out there at no additional cost to the subscriber. And if there's a problem with the radio in itself, and those radios retail for $1,500, we replace it with a brand new one no questions asked. So there's no additional cost to the subscriber at all whatsoever. So that fee includes the lease of the wireless transceiver, it includes the monitoring of the dispatch services, and it includes all the maintenance in one monthly amount.
Do I have a motion? And then we can open it back up.
Motion to approve, Nero.
Second, Barker.
Motion made and second to approve. Additional comments? Seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call, please.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes?
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Yeti.
Yes.
Motion passes. New business E, engineering service agreement, new public works facility. Okay. Board to consider ordinance authorizing an engineering agreement with AECom Phase 1 and 2 design engineering services for the proposed new public works facility. And I know we've been discussing this for a while, but I'll ask Director Ramsey to give us some additional information.
Thank you, Mayor. Based on the recommendations from the 2016 Public Works Needs Assessment study by AECom, we request the sum of the $795,000 for the Phase 1 and Phase 2 design engineering services for the proposed new public works facility. The new facility will be constructed at 55 East Burlington Avenue. This agreement includes conceptual design report, environmental site assessment, and final design document and bid assistance. Staff has worked hard working with AECom to come up with the best design possible that we're going to continue working with them on, and we do agree with the proposal.
I'll ask for a motion first, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Motion to approve, Little?
Second, Guzzo.
Motion made and second to approve. On the question, I had one that I asked Mike, and I think he did a little survey, how this matches up with other communities percentage-wise, and getting close. And in the budget, we have 900,000, so it's been in the budget, so it's not spending any extra.
Correct. Last year when we went through the budget process, we asked AECom to give us an estimate of how much he thought the engineering costs would be. They gave us a number of $944,000. That's what we did put in the budget. After lengthy discussions with the board and what would work best for Public Works, we came with an agreement about what the cost should be for the Public Works facility. And based on that, after talking to them, they came up with a number of $795 that should cover everything that we discussed as far as what the new Public Works facility would have.
And compared to other big projects, the percentage?
Yeah, we're right in the ballpark. I asked 3 Public Works municipalities that had Public Works facilities built in the last 10 years, and 2 of the 3 did respond to me before this meeting tonight. The first one was Oak Park. Their percentage of what their cost was for the design engineering was 7.1% of their total cost of the entire project. I did reach out to Carpentersville. Their cost was 6.2% of their total cost of the project was their engineering cost part of it. And when we did crunch numbers for ours would be right around 6% of the total cost.
Other comments, questions? Anybody in the audience? Okay, seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call, please.
Trustee Little.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes. I'm sorry. Was there not a motion or a discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were waiting. I apologize. So I guess I did have a comment. I'm sorry.
No.
For the vote. Is that okay?
Yeah.
No? Sorry.
We already had 2 votes. But
Just so I'm clear on my vote, I do not agree with any of the funding mechanisms that have been put forth for this, especially with $1 million in landscaping improvements and so forth along the trains. To just tax the people and increase the water rate, I don't agree with to fund this. Using no reserve, no cuts, this is not something that I know we budgeted this. I'm all for a new public works facility. Mike, I think you attest to that. I've worked a lot to try to make it work, but I have yet to see a funding mechanism that I agree with. So just wanted to clarify that before the vote. Thank you.
I think a lot of us would agree, but unfortunately, There's not many options.
I got a lot.
Yeah, I know.
I got a
All right,
lot.
hurry up
So
and
there's a
vote.
lot of options, but just none agreeable, so.
I'll ask Clerk Simsky to start over with the roll call again, in
Apologize.
case someone changed their mind.
Trustee Little,
Yes?
trustee Barker,
Yes.
trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
No.
Motion passes. New business F, the beekeeping text amendment. Or to consider an ordinance approving a text amendment to Chapter 14, Section 14-15 of the Municipal Code. Director Ziegler.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff is recommending updating the municipal code to allow for more simple and reasonable beekeeping regulations. I was actually responsible for writing this ordinance a couple years ago. I didn't know much about it. It was intended to allow beekeeping at Richmond Gardens and then also within the community. And personally, I think I completely overregulated it, added a lot of extra stuff that was already covered in the code. For example, our previous requirement asked that each hive had a marked European queen. And while I have a lot of respect for our code enforcement staff, I don't think they're quite equipped to determine if the queen is Italian and if it's marked or whatever. So it is very important, but I don't think that that's their job to be looking for stuff like that. So we have simplified it. We allow no more than 2 hives per third of an acre. We don't require a permit since it's regulated by the state. Still maintain a property line setback of 15 feet, and we don't allow hives on multifamily property. I hope this will encourage people to learn more about bees and the importance of pollinators in our environment. We presented this to the Community Development Committee in August, and then again to the Environmental Improvement Commission in September, who both supported it. So I'm available for any questions.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Little.
Second, Nero.
Motion been made in second to approve. On the question,
Do the state regulations require the fly walls at the property line?
I think they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw that was stricken, and that was
That's
something
another
I had
thing that-
learned was, I thought was a good idea to have in there. But
Right.
if the state requires it, then it's
Yeah.
duplicative.
It's another thing that's difficult to determine if they're doing correctly, but from what we've learned, most of the people in the community who are interested in beekeeping, you have to take a class, you get registered by the state, they're very passionate about it, and they're usually doing the right thing, so.
So we haven't had many beekeeping violations this last year?
We've had, I think, 2, and one of them didn't have a permit, and they couldn't meet the permit requirements, so they took it down. We had somebody else donate their hive. But honestly, we have more chicken permits than we do beekeeping, so.
did we ever, did a mayor get stung 20 times? By bees? Yeah.
Those were wasps, though, right? Not bees?
I don't know, but they were Richmond Gardens, they came over.
Can you tell the difference between queen bees personally?
Not personally, if somebody points it out to me, but it's hard. Yeah, they're bigger, but.
Especially if you're running away.
Yeah. And any other comments? Roll call, please.
Trustee Little.
Yes?
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Motion passes. Miscellaneous. Any board member, anybody in the audience? Larry, anything? No?
Barry did have one thing. Sorry. Public Works Open House,
Yeah.
Saturday, October 14th. Come by and see what we're talking about.
Very
For
good.
that facility.
Good.
And the tree and shrub sale, westmont.illinois.gov. A portion of the proceeds goes to the Richmond Gardens project. It is very user-friendly. I ordered a tree, so yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing none other information, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Order, Nash.
Sure, Nero.
Second, Little.
Motion made and second to adjourn the meeting. There will not be an executive session, so I'd ask for roll call.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Guzzo.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Little.
Yes?
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
And this meeting is adjourned, and thank everybody for coming.